Hello again. An Israeli human rights group is accusing the Israeli army of covering up the abuse of Palestinians in the West Bank, adding that it's ending cooperation with the state's military. B'Tselem has been working previously for nearly 3 decades trying to document human rights violations. The organisations therefore pushed the army previously to investigate more than 700 incidents where Palestinians have either been killed, injured or had damage done to their property. In 343 of those cases, an investigation had been launched, but no action came out of it. And then in 182 of those cases, no official action took place at all. I spoke to Haggai Elad from B'Tselem. He says they will nonetheless continue to try to challenge the Israeli army.
We will continue challenging the Israeli army in the context of accountability and other ways. And what we'll continue to do is to investigate, collect data, interview witnesses, and publish our findings to the public. We also have a responsibility towards the families of the victims to tell them the reality as we see it, the odds of achieving accountability through working with the system.
One of the cases B'Tselem reported was the death of a Palestinian girl shot by an Israeli soldier. Her parents spoke to the rights group direct.
لبنان الحمد لله رب العالمين بنت بكت مجتهدة.
لها سنة أخيرة عن تخرج وتخرجت للآخر الله يرحمها. فراحت زيارة ورجعت اللي مقتولة.
لبنان الحمد لله رب العالمين بنت بكت مجتهدة مرحة. تحب كل الناس مش قادر.
Their side of it, the Israeli Defense Forces told RT that the B'Tselem statement doesn't reflect reality, they said, and they say they thoroughly investigate all claims of misconduct, including those from the human rights group. The head of that organisation accuses the IDF, though, of whitewashing.
Other human rights organization has invested more resources and more good faith efforts in trying to give the system an opportunity to prove itself. But the results are extremely different, have very little to do with accountability. And it's not only that, it is also that through our good faith actions, the system gains credibility that it does not deserve. It is a whitewash, and indeed, but at least we won't go through this ridiculous process, this performance of what sometimes look like an investigation, but in effect is a whitewash.
The EU Council President Donald Tusk says the sanctions against Russia currently are likely to be extended without having to hold, quote, much special discussion about it.
I can assure you that, in fact, when it comes to the EU, we are ready to continue with our sanctions, and I'm quite sure that in fact, we don't need a special discussion among leaders.
Well, the German Foreign Minister, for one, doesn't agree. Frank-Walter Steinmeier says finding a common position on the issue will be more difficult than last year. Economic restrictions imposed on Russia started more than 2 years ago now, following the referendum in Crimea, and they've been extended twice then already. The most recently implemented sanctions are due to expire at the end of July. Before that, Russia's second largest city is set to hold a major international business gathering. The St. Petersburg Economic Forum next month will be attended by business leaders from around the world, including Europe. I discussed economic cooperation more generally between Russia and the EU with a guest in the studio earlier, a former advisor to French former President Nicolas Sarkozy, also businessman Jean-Pierre Thomas.
The public opinion in France especially, and in Europe, and through the election we see this more and more. The population, the big majority, want to cooperate with Russia. It's only a political problem, and I think in June is opportunity to Europe not to follow the United States every time, everywhere, but to say we are Europe, we have our own policy, and our own interest now is to start again cooperation and business with our partners, Russia. There is complete difference between the the speech, the political speech, and the business reality. The businessmen go in Russia, and me, like advisory business, investing business, I see that every day the big company of France, Auchan, Sanofi, for pharmacy, and all the company, Renault, and so on, they want to continue and to develop business because we are completely complementary. It's a huge country with huge capacity of raw material, petrol, gas. We have a lot of technology, and we are in the same continent. The strategy is to cooperate. We have more important things to do with Russia, you know, to fight against terrorism in Syria and to cooperate in economy. That's the two targets. These silly sanctions are totally inadequate.
Let me take you through a couple of the world news headlines. Turkish security forces have clashed with left-wing activists in one neighbourhood in Istanbul. Water cannon was used on the protesters at one point by riot police who are allegedly affiliated with the Revolutionary People's Liberation Party. They were demonstrating after suspected members of the group were detained by the authorities. Also, there's been a powerful blast, big one here, look at that, at a chemical plant in India. At least 2 people have been killed in it and over 100 more injured. That explosion happened in a town about 40 kilometres from Mumbai, sparking a fire. In fact, locals say that blast was so strong it shattered windows 3 kilometres away. Thanks for being with us today. I'm Kevin Owen. Hope to see you again maybe in half an hour. Next, though, Max and Stacey here to tell us today why Americans shouldn't make too many plans for a long and comfortable retirement these days.